Welcome back to Grace and Faith Daily. Today's story is titled, The Worst Day That Became God's Greatest Blessing. Have you ever experienced a moment when it felt like your entire world was falling apart? Maybe you lost something you worked so hard for, faced a painful disappointment, or wondered why God seemed silent during one of the hardest seasons of your life. If you've ever asked, Lord, why is this happening to me? Then today's story is for you. Hello, everyone. My name is Eboni, and I want to share a season in my life that completely changed the way I see God's faithfulness. If someone had told me a few years ago that one of the worst days of my life would become one of my greatest blessings, I never would have believed them. At that time, I couldn't understand why God allowed everything to fall apart. I loved the Lord. I prayed every day. I attended church faithfully, and I tried my best to live according to His will. Yet deep inside, I kept asking the same question. Lord, if you have a good plan for my life, why does it feel like everything is going wrong? It all began the morning I lost my job. I had worked for the same company for nearly 8 years. I was loyal, dependable, and always willing to help. I believed that if I worked hard enough, everything would eventually fall into place. But one ordinary Tuesday, my manager asked me to come into his office. He gently explained that the company was downsizing and that my position had been eliminated. Just like that, 8 years of my life were over. I remember driving home in complete silence. When I pulled into my driveway, I couldn't bring myself to go inside. I sat in my car with tears streaming down my face, wondering how I was going to tell my family. I wasn't upset because I had lost a job. I was terrified because I didn't know how I was going to provide for the people I loved. That night, after everyone was asleep, I knelt beside my bed. For the first time in a very long time, I didn't have the right words to pray. All I could say was, Lord, I don't understand, but please don't leave me. The weeks that followed were some of the hardest of my life. I submitted application after application. Some employers never responded. Others interviewed me, but hired someone else. Every rejection made me wonder if I had any value left. One afternoon, I opened the mailbox and found nothing but bills. As I stood there holding them, I felt completely defeated. I wondered if God could even hear my prayers anymore. One evening, while I was trying to hide my worries, my little daughter walked over to me. She looked into my eyes and asked, Mommy, are you sad? I smiled and told her I was just tired. She wrapped her little arms around me and said, It's okay. Jesus will help us. Then she smiled and ran back to her room. She probably doesn't even remember saying those words, but I do. God used the innocent faith of a child to remind me that He was still with me. That night, I opened my Bible. It opened to Jeremiah chapter 29. When I read verse 11, it felt as though God was speaking directly to my heart. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for your welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope. I realized something I had never truly understood before. God never promised that I would always understand His plan. He only promised that He already had one. From that day forward, my prayer changed. Instead of asking God to explain everything, I simply prayed, Lord, help me trust you one day at a time. A few weeks later, our church announced that they needed volunteers to deliver groceries to elderly members who couldn't leave their homes. Normally, I would have been too busy, but because I was unemployed, I had time, so I signed up. At first, I thought I was serving others. In reality, God was healing me. Every Thursday, I met people whose faith inspired me. One elderly woman especially touched my heart. After every delivery, she invited me inside for a cup of tea. One afternoon, I asked her how she always seemed so joyful. She smiled and told me that she had lost her husband years ago, survived cancer, and spent many lonely days by herself. Then she said something I will never forget. When I focus on what I've lost, my heart becomes heavy. But when I thank God for what I still have today, my heart becomes full. Those words changed me. Instead of focusing on everything I had lost, I began thanking God for everything He had already given me. I thanked Him for my family, for my health, for my church, for food on our table, for every new sunrise. Little by little, peace replaced my fear. Several months later, one of the church members introduced me to the owner of a small local business. He wasn't looking for the most experienced employee. He was looking for someone he could trust. After our conversation, he offered me the position. The salary was good, but the greatest blessing wasn't the paycheck. The schedule allowed me to spend evenings with my family. I no longer missed birthdays. I no longer worked every weekend. For the first time in years, I had time to truly enjoy the people God had blessed me with. About a year later, the company expanded. I was promoted to a leadership position. One day, my employer told me why he had hired me. He said, "Eboni, everyone from church spoke about your kindness and your willingness to serve others. That's what convinced me." At that moment, I couldn't stop the tears. The very season I thought was destroying my future was actually preparing me for it. If I had never lost my job, I never would have volunteered. If I had never volunteered, I never would have met the people God had placed in my path. And if I had never met them, I would have missed the opportunity that God had been preparing for me all along. Looking back now, I understand something I couldn't see then. God wasn't punishing me. He was redirecting me. The door He closed wasn't meant to hurt me. It was leading me to something better. Today, whenever I face uncertainty, I no longer ask, "Lord, why is this happening?" Instead, I ask, "Lord, what are you preparing me for?" Because I know His plans are always greater than mine. And even when I can't see what He's doing, I can trust the one who already knows the ending. Inspired by Jeremiah 29:11. "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans for your welfare and not for evil, to give you a future and a hope." This heartfelt testimony reminds us that even when life doesn't go according to our plans, God is still working behind the scenes. His plans are always filled with hope, purpose, and a future beyond what we can see. If you're listening today and you're going through a difficult season, I want to encourage you with all my heart. Maybe you've lost a job. Maybe you're waiting for an answered prayer. Maybe you've experienced disappointment, heartbreak, or uncertainty. Please don't believe that God has forgotten you. Jeremiah 29:11 reminds us that God's plans are always rooted in His love. Sometimes His answer isn't immediate because He's preparing something far greater than we can imagine. What feels like a closed door today may actually be God's protection. What feels like a delay may be His perfect timing. Looking back, I can honestly say that losing my job was not the end of my story. It became the beginning of a new chapter that I never could have planned on my own. If God remained faithful to me, I believe He will remain faithful to you too. So don't lose hope. Keep praying, keep trusting, keep taking one step forward, even when you can't see the entire path. One day you'll look back and realize that what seemed like your greatest loss became one of God's greatest blessings. Thank you for listening to my story.